Hello and welcome. My name is John Rihani and I manage Encore Orchestral Strings, the violin shop at Page's Music. We're located in Indianapolis, Indiana and serve customers all across the state. Today we're going to discuss how to make sure your violin family instrument is in tune. We refer to this process as tuning the instrument. If you are relatively new to playing your instrument, let's say you're in your first or second year of playing as part of your school orchestra, you might not be comfortable with tuning your instrument, and that's okay. Your only experience with tuning thus far might be handing your instrument to your orchestra director or private lessons teacher and watching them tune it at what looks like the speed of light. I'm going to let you in on a little known secret. Music teachers are actually part magical beings. For 10 months of the year, they barely sleep and are fueled by caffeine and an invisible energy that radiates through the classroom when you don't rush eighth notes. Because that doesn't happen very often, it's mostly just the caffeine that keeps them going. Because we regular, non-music teacher humans don't have their power, we're going to tune our instrument much more slowly and gradually. Doing things slowly and gradually will give us the confidence to tackle this important task ourselves. In order to keep the length of this video reasonable, I'm going to focus on helping you get your instrument tuned when it's only slightly out of tune. Let's call this stage 1 tuning. Stage 1 is when we can use only our fine tuners or perhaps small movements of our tuning pegs to tune our instrument. When I differentiate between fine tuners and pegs, I'm referring to violin, viola, and cello. For the purposes of this video, all bass tuning will be accomplished by hand turning the tuning gears. I would call stage 2 tuning as when one or several strings are fully loosened due to a slipped peg. Stage 3 is when enough strings are totally loosened that the bridge and or sound post of your instrument has fallen over. For stage 2 and stage 3, seek the assistance of your teacher or your local music store. Also for this video, I'm going to assume you have access to either a computer or device with access to a tuning app or an electronic chromatic tuner. Now there are many great videos already available on tuning, and I encourage you to watch all of them during this journey learning to tune your instrument. Many of them have much better camera work, and a couple of them I watched were made in other countries and feature lovely people with beautiful accents. For this one, you're stuck with me. Before we get started, I want to offer some perspective. Many people treat tuning as something you do before you start making music, and it's some kind of sterile mechanical process. I'd encourage you to think of tuning as part of making music, and that every time you approach your instrument, you do so ready to make beautiful sounds. Ready? Step 1, wash your hands. I am making this video in March of 2020, so washing our hands thoroughly before picking up the instrument is important. Step 2, gather everything you need in a quiet room if available. I know finding a quiet room can be a challenge for many of us, but it will make things much easier. If a parent or a friend or a sibling is available to sit with you, even better. It's nice to have the support of someone who cares about us when we're trying something new. We need our instrument, our bow, and our tuner. And it can be helpful to set the tuner on a music stand or a table where the sound of your instrument has a clear, direct path to the microphone in the device. Now, as step 3 and beyond are instrument specific, I'm going to leave off here and I'll join you again in a minute. I'm back, and this time we're talking about the greatest instrument ever created, the cello. Now, I'm one of those people fortunate enough to play the cello, and if you're watching this, I'm assuming you are too. Now, cellists have all kinds of advantages, but tuning our instruments is one place where we typically have a harder time than the rest of the string family. The bass is bigger and experiences even more changes in movement due to temperature and humidity fluctuations. But basses have those cool mechanical gear tuners that don't slip. Cellists still have good old-fashioned friction pegs. The only thing that keeps the peg from slipping is the friction between the peg and the peg box. Because of this, the peg is tapered so that by pressing the peg into the peg box as you turn it, the tension between the peg and the peg box is increased, keeping it from slipping. We're going to focus primarily on tuning with the fine tuners on the tailpiece. We make the pitch of the string higher or sharper by turning the screw clockwise. We make the pitch lower or flatter by tuning the screw counterclockwise. First, we need to know the proper names of the notes for each string. The note names are identified not only by a note letter name, but also a number. Imagine a piano keyboard. If I asked you to play the note C and you played the C in the middle of the keyboard, you'd be right. But you'd also be right if you played a C to the right or to the left. Especially when we have a slipped peg and loose string, we need to know which A or which G we're shooting for. In the next segment, I'll be describing the tuning app we'll use, and then there will be a reference sheet with the notes of each string listed. You can pause the video and write those down so that you have a copy for yourself. Because cellists often deal with slipped pegs, I want to show you how to get started down the path of bringing that string up to the correct pitch. That's next. Okay, so here we have a common situation where we've taken the cello out of the bag, we want to practice, but when we go to look at our strings, we see that we've got one that's totally loose because the peg has slipped. So I want to show you the steps that I take to get it back into a position where I can tune it using the tuning app. With the hand opposite the hand I'm going to use to tune the tuning peg, I support the string here to keep it under tension. This is going to help it wind onto the peg properly when I turn it. And then what I'm going to do is slowly turn this peg up, away from me, and then I'm also going to support the peg box on the opposite side and push in as I turn it up. Okay, just to illustrate that again, I'm going to loosen it. Again, we've got a loose string. I'm keeping it under tension with the opposite hand that I'm going to work the peg with. And then I'm going to take the peg and I'm going to turn it up until the string is tight. And then I'm going to support the peg box on the opposite side and turn the peg away from me and push into the peg box. That should set the peg and keep the string from slipping again as I tune it, as I continue to tune it using the tuning app. This is the tuning app I'm going to use for this video. It's called Tonal Energy Tuner, T-O-N-A-L, Energy Tuner. While it's not free, I do suggest you purchase it if you can. It's a powerful application that has a lot of tools that will make this easier for us. And I just want to walk through really quickly how I have it set up for tuning. Now this is just a screenshot of the tuner because when I speak, the tuner tries to tune my voice and it'll be a little distracting. We'll experience that in the next segment when I'm tuning the cello, but for the purposes of this portion, I just wanted to have this screenshot. I'm going to show you, here's your note name with the corresponding number that tells you which note. So this is what we want to look at here when we're tuning. This is going to tell us whether we're under the pitch or over the pitch with a minus or plus, that's flat or sharp. Over here we have this set to strings, and then this portion here is all default, so it should pop up that way when you open up the application. And then for your reference again, here we have cello, A3, D3, G2, and C2 are the strings that we'll be tuning. Now let's go string by string, playing long bows on each string to figure out which direction we need to turn the fine tuners or the pegs to tune the string. Here's the A string. So we have A3, but we're sharp. So I'll turn the fine tuner counterclockwise. We're going to call that close enough for now. So the D string, we're just a little bit sharp. So just about a quarter turn counterclockwise on the fine tuner. We'll call that close enough for now as well. Now this is that G string that we tuned that was loose. So see, we have F2, so it's in the correct octave. We want G2, we have F2, but F is a pitch under G. So I'm going to actually use that peg now. I went too far with the peg, so I've gone from F up to A flat, but now I should be able to loosen the fine tuner counterclockwise. Small motions of the peg make big differences, and the turns of the fine tuner make differences as well. So here's the C. We have C2, but we're a little sharp. We're getting that green smiley face. There we go. So now we have a usable cello to practice with. Okay, let's wrap this up. Couple things that you noticed while I was tuning the cello using the tuning app. One of which, I stopped tuning when I got that green smiley face, even if I wasn't exactly on 0. It's okay to be just a little bit sharp or a little bit flat for the purposes of this video. It doesn't have to be perfectly on 0. When you get that big green smiley face, you can move on to that next string, and at the end of things, you'll have an instrument that you can practice on, even if it's not perfect. For this video, we're just wanting to have an instrument that we can use at home. The other thing that you'll notice is that when I made the one movement with the peg, as I tuned the G string in the video, a very small movement with the peg made a big change to the pitch of the string. It went from an F to an A flat. So I went from under the G string to over the G string. So when you make movements with the pegs, just make a small movement, bow the string and check it, and then finish with the fine tuners. Thanks for watching. Until next time.